What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG Structures video. Today, guys, we are going to be going over another new character that has the potential of appearing in the Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG Structures manga. Now, this is going to be different than when I discussed the last new character that was going to appear in the Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG Structures manga, as that character was confirmed to actually be in the actual chapter. We actually do see a physical appearance of that character, but in this one it doesn't seem like that from the information that we have now. But I decided, since this is a very interesting thing, and since I did that video with the last character, I decided, you know what, let's go over this character as well, especially since the latest chapter in the screenshot that I have to show you guys actually brings this character into the manga, which I'll explain a little bit more when we actually get into that. But before I begin, I'm going to do the same thing like I did with the last video. This is going to be a spoiler video, because not only will I be talking about this new character, but I'm actually going to be talking a little bit about the character from the last video. So if you had not seen that video and you don't mind the spoilers, go check out that video first so you're not kind of confused. But if you want no spoilers, just click off this video, wait until, I guess, the OCG Structures manga gets translated. That way you get up to these episodes. I'm going to be referencing actually up to chapter 21. So if you are not caught up to at least that point, just put this in a watch later or something like that, and come back when you end up catching up with the manga, or if you're interested in getting spoiled. But with all that being said, without further ado, guys, let's not waste any more time and let's get right into it. And here it is, guys. This is the screenshot that I have for the latest chapter, chapter 24 of the OCG Structures manga. And this is why I mentioned why there is a chance that we might not actually see this character, as in this shot that we got, it looks like more of a flashback, unlike the one we talked about in the last video, where the character that we were discussing, which ended up being the Yugioh card battle protagonist, which, thanks to you guys helped me get an access to chapter 22 and 23, because up to that point, I only had access to chapter 21. That's as much as I had gotten up to in terms of knowing what in the world is going on that I could understand without speaking another language, because obviously I can't do that. You guys helped me find chapter 22 and 23, and also found out the confirmed name of this character, because when I did that video, I didn't have a confirmed name on the character. I ended up just calling him Yu, just because of the fact that, you know, he was technically a protagonist and he didn't have a name, so I just gave him Yu. Well, we actually did get a name for the character. His name is Oza Akaboshi. And let me just say this, and I want to know your guys' thoughts on this character as well, just as an added bonus. What do you guys think of his name? I know that's a weird question, but think about this. This is technically a protagonist in a story, in the Yugioh card battle story, and he doesn't follow the Yu name. I want you to think of every protagonist that we have in the series. They all have one thing in common, and that is having the Yu name in it. I know Luke doesn't have it, but I always make an exception for him, since in the original source material that we were introduced to this character as, he wasn't the protagonist. When he was introduced in the Sevens anime, he's not the protagonist, it's Yugioh who has the Yu name. They just decided to be unique and add it to the Sevens manga. So this is technically the second time that a character has broke this tradition, but I always think Sevens is always, you can consider it an exception, since the original story that he was in, he wasn't the protagonist. But this character never got a name, so I always felt like I couldn't really compare that to Yugioh card battle when implemented into OCG Structures, just because of the fact that we never knew a name of him, and I just had the assumption that it was going to be a Yu name, because we never got the name of it, and every protagonist other than Sevens manga has the Yu name of it, but he doesn't. He does not follow the Yu tradition, as none of the parts of his name has Yu in it. You are very close with Oza. Instead of an O, you could have put a U and made a Yuza, but I guess they didn't do that, which I always found that was kind of weird. So I'm not going to really talk about much on it. I want to know your guys' thoughts on that, because I was honestly surprised they didn't slap the Yu name on him, because every protagonist other than Luke has followed that. So yeah, I don't know. That's very interesting that they decided to go that route. But back to the actual main topic at hand. I just wanted to kind of talk about that real quick since I didn't mention it in that video. But going back to this image. So the image that we got, it didn't really tell much of what the chapter is going to be all about. All we see is a Yugioh kind of reflecting a past scene where it seems like she's in high school or something like that, and she's hanging out with this guy at assumingly a carnival. You know, you see a Ferris wheel in the back and a roller coaster right beside it, which, funny enough, we actually do have the name for this character. Unlike we did have the character's name for Oza, we do have this character's name as well, but it was actually mentioned in an earlier chapter. Similar how I did chapter 23, it was mentioned in chapter 22. This one was mentioned in chapter 21. His name is Kurono, or on Nagia's phone is Kurono Senpai, but this is the character that's might have the potential of appearing, because again, the shots that we have is a flashback, and then we also have this shot it was the last panel of chapter 21 where she ends up calling Kurono on the phone, and you know, she kind of gets a little bit happy with that scene, which chapter 21 was just weird. I mean, chapter 20 and 21, it was just a weird chapter in itself, a weird duel, to say the least. So I'm very excited for chapter 21 for one monster in particular, but we'll get into that when I actually do the chapter 21 review, whenever I do that. But this has the potential of another character appearing in the Yugioh OCG Structures manga, and I really do hope this character appears in the manga. Now, this one is probably not as important as Oza, since Oza is the perfect champion, the way they were building him up. This character, he has really not done much at all. The only appearances he's really had was that call with a Yugioh, and then this flashback shots for chapter 24. So who knows, maybe this character is not going to really be relevant at all, which I hope that's not the case. One of my biggest things that I've said about OCG Structures is I wish there was more characters. We only have Shoma, the Four Kings, a Yugioh, Misguide or Des, and Gobu, and then Oza now. Those are only 9 characters in the OCG Structures manga. I think adding a 10th character would actually be pretty cool, and I just want to say this, and maybe this is just me, but I really do want this Kurono guy. I want him to face Gobu. That might be an unpopular opinion, but I just feel like if he duels Gobu, that would be a hilarious duel. I really do believe that, because if you guys remember back in chapter 9, we know that Gobu has a massive crush on a Yugioh. You can even see that. I mean, when this dude goes up into dueling a Yugioh, he literally takes his shirt off and ends up dueling a Yugioh with his shirt off. And I mean, this dude is jacked and everything, but that was just a weird chapter, dude. Jesus criminy. But I just really want to see that duel. Again, it might be just my own opinion, but I just feel like that duel would be hilarious. Or this character duel Shoma. Now, the reason I say Shoma in particular is because it would give him a new opponent to face, but I feel like you could do something pretty cool with this. Maybe in one of the chapters, a Yugioh ends up inviting him over. Maybe they haven't seen each other in a while or something like that, and they end up talking, and Shoma might walk into them, you know, they might be talking, he goes back to his room or something like that, and is like kind of building his deck. Kurono ends up going into his room, and he realizes that Shoma likes the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! He loves the game as well, and they end up getting in a duel between that. I think that would be really cool and would honestly be one of the most relatable things that they can do, especially for me, because when I was growing up, I mean, I had a couple of friends that were into Yu-Gi-Oh, but there wasn't really many people that I knew that played the game of Yu-Gi-Oh until I met my brother-in-law, or at the time, I don't think he was my brother-in-law. He was dating my sister at the time, but I remember when I first met my brother-in-law, when he was staying with us for a while because he was going to move back to his hometown, he actually told me that he likes the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I kind of got happy with that. You know, I had loved Yu-Gi-Oh! Since I was growing up, and he was kind of the same way, and we kind of hit it off with each other, so I feel like I could really relate to this into some degree. Now, the difference between these two characters is this is not Shoma's stepbrother or anything. Well, in my example that I have of my actual life, that was my stepbrother that I met, and it was kind of a similar scenario that I made for this case. He saw that I liked playing with Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I remember we ended up going to our Walmart and bought some tins, ended up trying to build a deck with those and actually dueled against each other with the decks that we can build. And obviously he wiped the floor with me because I wasn't really good at the time. But, you know, that was some of my most fond memories of growing up with Yu-Gi-Oh! And I really do hope they do something like that, because this would probably be my favorite duel of the entire manga if they did something like that, because that would personally relate to me. And I feel like that would honestly personally relate to anyone, you know. Maybe you not really talk to many people, especially since Shoma being some kid that lives in the boonies, he doesn't really have much people to talk to. But meeting this character that Yugioh knows very well, and he likes the game of Yu-Gi-Oh as well, maybe the two can hit it off, they duel against each other, and just be able to grow a good bond between the two of each other. And I feel like that would make Yugioh pretty happy, because she likes this guy, and his brother does respect him a lot as well, because they ended up dueling with each other. I think that it could be something really cool that you end up doing with the three, but we would have to wait and see. Let me know what you guys want this character to really do in the OCG Structures manga. Because what's very interesting about this character is it's one of the rare characters in this story that has not appeared in Saikyo Card Battle. I mean, the Four Kings, Oza, and Ms. Guide appeared in the Saikyo Card Battle video game, but Gobu, Agiha, and Shoma never appeared in that source, so they're exclusive to the OCG Structures manga. So getting another character exclusive to this manga and kind of growing upon this character, I think would be really cool, and I would like to see the route they do with this character. I really do hope he's relevant in some sort into the story, but I want to know your guys' thoughts on this character. Do you guys agree with me that he should duel Shoma or Gobu? I know Gobu might not be the popular one in this, maybe Shoma, I would argue, but who would you like this character to see? I think another cool duel would be him dueling Agiha would be pretty interesting. I don't think he would duel any other character, maybe Oza, but I really doubt that, unless he is a professional duelist as well. But from what we know of this character, because we don't know much at all about this, unlike Oza, which we do know that he is a professional duelist. He's the perfect champion. We don't really know much about this character, but let me know what you guys think of this character. What duel do you want to see him participate in? And do you think he's going to be really relevant to the story or not? Or do you hope that he's relevant to the story or not? Would love to know your guys' thoughts on this character. But guys, that is going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.